Welcome to the 200th episode of the Truth About Real Estate Investing show for Canadians. My name is Erwin Cito. It's been an amazing run, and I'll start off with explaining a lie that I tell on the show. We have a few more than 17 listeners. Based on some of the statistics I've looked up over the years, this podcast ranked 88th in the business category in all of iTunes over the whole world. This is a top 1% podcast in the world of podcasts. We've ranked within the top 3 Canadian podcasts a couple times, including number 1 once. I've even had a big-time podcast producer that works with publicly traded companies audit our show, and he was beyond impressed with our statistics, sharing with me that our listening time was actually 2 to 3 times greater than that of his own clients. He didn't have much feedback what we can do to improve. What started as a 6-episode experiment back in 2016, we managed to do something right, and here we are at the 200th episode. Totally crazy. Now, about the lie about the number of listeners that we have that I tell people is the truth about real estate is not all real estate investors want the attention or they have a fear of public speaking. That's just what it is. But if no one's listening, there's nothing to fear, right? Hence, I tell people there's only 16, 17 listeners. But some of you are listening, and I want to thank you for being our listener or watcher on YouTube. Oh, by the way, a few months ago, we hired a fancy TV producer. Hence, you'll notice our audio and video production has all gotten improved. Our videos are, of course, posted on YouTube at The Truth About Real Estate Investing. On YouTube, to search that, you'll find it easy. Anyways, as the pandemic is winding down and your real estate investors, including our hundreds of investor clients, have benefited heavily from investing in land-based real estate, no one could have predicted prices would have gone up crazy like they have. But if you followed the show, then you know all the signs pointed up that prices would go up. So I want to thank you for listening and taking action, making a difference in your life and your family's lives. It has and always will be my honor to give back, share what I've learned, and continue to learn from our expert guests on this show. And I'm grateful to have this platform to pull together leading experts, especially when the pandemic started. Our community, myself included, was uneasy. We had to talk some investors off a ledge from selling off their portfolio out of fear. But thankfully, things worked out, and they've added several hundreds of thousands of dollars to their net worth and added to their financial peace. So to celebrate 200 episodes, I have with me my real estate team here today because they're the ones who got us here today to share some lessons on the last 5 years and 200 episodes. 5 years is a milestone as we all have 5-year goals, and the team is here to share some investor stories over those last 500 years, what it took me to make 200 episodes. So today is our biggest podcast in history in terms of the number of people we have on the show and the number of microphones we needed. We have Tammy the Duplex Queen, D. Tommaso, James Moneybags Mags, Tim Clapback Hong. Tim is Clapback because he has the wittiest comebacks, Joel Arndt, and Chris the Captain Hook. Special mention to Megan Robida, who has been my operations manager. She started with me 8 years ago, but she's too shy to come on the show. But that does not discount the importance she has on our success. If you're not sure what you can accomplish over the next 5 years, or in my case, 200 episodes, then this episode is for you to inspire some ideas. If you want to be a top 1% podcaster, host your own event of 1,600 people, own 10 or more investment properties, it's all possible. It just starts with having the guts to do it, then the know-how, like the show, surrounding yourself with positive people, and just know that I'll always be there cheering for you. Before we start the show, just a friendly reminder, we are hiring more investment realtors. We want the full-time challenge to help our clients who are regular, everyday people, mostly from the GTA, invest in the top towns west of the GTA. This is for driven folks who want to multiply their current incomes a couple times, just like James and Tammy have, and they'll share on the show. Please enjoy the show. Hello, everyone. What's everyone do? I've never had this many people on the show. I always start off with what's keeping everyone busy these days. So let's go around. Chris?
I guess real estate is keeping me busy. Stock hacking is keeping me busy. I think that's about it for now.
Joel, what's keeping you busy these days?
A lot of marketing stuff. Kind of been diving hard into crypto and researching that stuff, trying to figure it all out. And then my daughter.
Tim?
Kids, too many kids. They take up all the time.
James? MBM?
Oh, man.
Moneybags?
Real estate primarily, but in different aspects. I've got 2 renovations on the go at the same time. Just sold a property, so personally, my real estate portfolio has been keeping me busy. Plus, the team and just servicing clients and stuff as well as stock hacking and getting into whole life and stuff. So a lot of different things on the go, both personally and professionally, and then family and preparing for summer that's finally here.
And Bitcoin?
I do have a little bit.
And a little gold?
Buying the dip.
Classic MBM. We say that a lot around here. James always seems to have flush with cash, and he's always buying stuff. That's how he earned the name MBM. Cash poor because he buys stuff.
He buys stuff. He buys stuff when you're not expecting him to buy stuff. I think that you're surprised to hear that he's made another purchase.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, I bought a brick of gold." Like, what?
I've been busy helping James count his money. That's what I've been doing. No. And Erwin's been keeping me busy. Real estate and virtual learning, I guess. That's been taken up.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, everyone hears me.
All right, so we're here to celebrate 200 episodes. I don't know if everyone knows, but this actually started off as a 6-episode experiment, and that started in 2016, and now here we are, 200 episodes. Can't believe it. Can't believe we all made it. Can't believe we kept it going. Can't believe we started it. Can't believe the success has gone from 0 listeners to 17. So we're making progress. Hopefully we can double that in the next 5 years. So in 10 years we'll have 34 listeners. So looking forward to that. Hope to help a couple folks out. So it's basically a 5-year anniversary for the show. We're actually just past 5 years. I think we started in March. I think maybe May. I forget. Anyways, so let's start with Tammy. So what were you doing 5 years ago? And compare that to what are you doing today?
I was working for James. I was, yeah.
Best assistant on the planet.
Yes. And so I actually started 2015 with James, though. So, but I remember, and I think we talked about this a little bit in the podcast that we did before, but
we've gained at least 3 listeners since then. So
guys, go back and listen. But I remember you were over our house. So James and I have been friends for a very long time, and over our house for dinner, and said I was saying how I'd like to get into real estate. And he said, you should do it. And I need an assistant right now. Do you want to be my assistant while you go to school and take the courses? Which I also wanted to wait for my kids to start school in September, the following September. So anyway, the ball just got rolling. We got started that way. And then you guys had to take me on, right? Didn't you? Didn't I come part of the team at that point? And then I started with you guys. So yeah, and then I was licensed in 2017. So I would say though a good 5, for a couple years, year and a half, I'd say, working as James' assistant really helped because I was part of the meetings and I got to listen to you guys and I got to learn. So I got to learn another side of real estate more than I'd say most people would get to do. So that certainly helped. So when I got licensed, I was like ready. I was excited.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to today.
Today?
How's your life changed? How's your income changed?
Well, I'm still working for James. No, I'm not.
Hopefully, give you a raise.
I left. Yeah,
Technically.
up and left him.
James couldn't handle it anymore.
Yeah. So
She kept telling me what to do.
It actually makes me shy. I get a little shy when I talk about it, but very well. Real estate definitely think is the right job for me without sounding funny. I love it and I enjoy it, and it's done well for me as well. Since then as well, I also picked up my first investment property. As my husband and I also have a gym, and we have a lot invested in there, but it's different when you have your own investment property. So, and then I just actually got pre-approved for 2 more properties, so I'm going to be on the hunt. Yeah, which also reflects, I guess, my income that I got from real estate. So I've been able to be pre-approved. Yeah.
Can you share how many times James shared on his show he 3x'd his job income?
Well, before that, 5, 10 times maybe. I had my own aesthetics business, but then I stopped working when I raised the kids. So it went down to hardly anything. So I guess anything was more than that. But realistically, I would probably say, I think on par for this year with what I did before. I'm a good, what'd you say, how much?
Good 6 times your income.
6 at least a good 6 times, yeah.
No, I was thinking 8, but yeah.
It might be, yeah.
6 to 8, so
Yeah,
you're that
6
much
to
better
8.
than MBM. MBM only did 3 times.
Only 3 times.
3 times? Yes.
His base was higher though.
Thanks for sharing, Tammy.
My
No.
goal is to crush James, actually. So.
Aren't you
Yeah,
already
sure
crushing?
there.
She is already.
And then James, what's what do you so? Yeah, sorry. 5 years ago, what were you doing?
Yeah, so I think, was it just you and me 5 years ago?
There was Tim. You forgot about Tim?
Well, I'm trying to remember because Tim was in and out.
Well, I was out 2012 for about a year because Jaden was
Gotcha.
born.
Yeah. So that was
So the 3 of us. So I was only licensed 2014. So I'd been a realtor for 2 years. And so just kind of I finally got the swing of things. And because it takes a bit to get, you can understand the investment side and you can understand like all the background of being a realtor, but actually doing the job is very different from reading the books and everything else. So had kind of.
And then sharing, and then teaching that to usually a novice.
Yeah.
Right. That's a big leap for someone
Yeah.
usually.
And then you were really busy, so I had to figure a lot of stuff out on my own. We didn't exactly have a defined training plan or education plan. It was like trial by fire.
It's much better now.
Yeah.
Learn on the job.
And so numbers-wise, it's been pretty similar, though I've changed roles now managing the team. So I'm able to – I still do similar number of trades, but just do things mostly with clients that I've built up since 2016. So a lot of repeat clients, which is kind of cool for our business. And then I was just counting the numbers. I've purchased 7 properties since 2016. So I thought I only had a handful, and then I've done a couple of sales as well. So my total number has stayed around the same, but it's kind of been a slow progression. Every few years, grab a couple property here and there.
Yeah.
So.
And you bought your vacation property?
Oh yeah, that was right in 2016. So condo in Costa Rica. So we're up on the 5-year anniversary now as well, which comes up in September. So it's a good thing I just sold a rental property because I'll need the funds from that to pay for it because I have to pay out the mortgage in full by September of this year.
But just to clarify, so then your investment property is paying off your vacation property.
Yes. Yeah. So, and that was originally going to be an investment property, but now it's just more of a vacation property. Friends, family.
Because you can afford it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Tim?
What was I doing 5 years ago? 2 less kids and a smaller house.
No dog?
No, I had the dog in 2012. So,
Okay.
yeah, just past 5 years, it's less properties as well. Just watching the portfolio grow. I've been helping investors since 2011, so it's 10-year anniversary this year actually for me being licensed as an agent, but I've been investing since 2005, I believe it was. So watching the team grow, watching us just seeing investors grow their portfolio and how much wealth they're creating as well is pretty crazy. I've had several investors this year after their 5-year term was up actually sell, and the realized gains from this is just insane.
Do you have any numbers to help? Because I have an idea what they are. I don't know if our 17 listeners have an idea.
Rough numbers. I think it was a single detached home purchased in Kitchener was roughly 278 in around there. Sold for 570, I believe, recently. So essentially doubled the money in 5 years.
Well, double the price.
Double the price,
They didn't
yeah.
put down 100%.
Yeah, no, they
did
put down. That one was at that time the down payment structures were a little bit different, so they didn't put down as much as they needed as well. So it was definitely good gains, and we've seen that in our own portfolio as well, where we've refinanced multiple properties to buy more properties this past couple of years as well. So it's been good 5 years.
Just do some quick math. Assuming a 20% down, so that's about $56,000. Any renovations?
Minor ones throughout the years.
Okay, so we'll round it up to 60.
Around yeah.
Well, the rent probably paid for the renos.
Yeah, and
maintenance.
principal pay down as well. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. That's like
Some good
4
returns.
times. It's like 4 times your 4 times your
initial
money.
initial down payment. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a
Real
lot.
estate can do wonders as long as you're patient, and as the hat said, hodl. It's not just crypto. It's real estate as well.
That's
hold on.
actually, that's a good point, Tim, because I think a lot of people lose sight of that sometimes. It's really the long term. Real estate is really a long term play, and I think people forget that it's time in the market, not timing the market in real estate. So
Yeah.
that's a big key. I think people lose sight of that sometimes.
That's the top line, though. Like, Tim's client bought Kitchener, bought a single family home detached on land. So, like, I'd love to compare that to a condo. I'm pretty sure that your client outperformed a condo. So, sorry, my math is 5 times. 5 times the return. So, an average of 100% return per year, right? Straight
It's
line.
not bad. Not bad.
Not bad. If anyone has anything that'll beat that, please let us know. Some crazy crypto, Dogecoin or something. Joel, where were you? What were you doing 5 years ago? Were you even in like Southern Ontario?
Yeah, probably for about a year. I'd moved to Hamilton, living in Hamilton for a year. 5 years ago, brand new baby girl, just started a job as a barista, part time. Living in an upstairs 2-bedroom apartment. Was also married. A lot has changed in the last 5 years. It's been a ride for sure. Discovering real estate, discovering investing in like financial literacy in general. Just the idea of, Chris said, time in the market versus timing the market, and the more, even this deep dive into crypto, it's not about there's the flashy stuff, but anybody who bought Bitcoin or Ethereum 5 years ago, 3 years ago, even, there's a lot of value in that. And who's to say, like, if it's going to keep going or not? I mean, that's a conversation for another time. But the biggest lesson I've learned in the last 5 years is get in when you can, because it's going to be better 5 years from now, almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
Even after a COVID crash, even after government moves that slowed the market down for an entire year, the mortgage stress test and stuff like that, it just keeps going. So my moves have to be smaller, but I'm still trying to make sure that. So James mentioned whole life insurance. Opened up a whole life insurance policy for my daughter and I, just to start, and so that's been probably the biggest change. That, and then working, doing the marketing with you guys and stuff like that. That's been a huge step forward for me too. So yeah, big changes.
Hopefully, there's a bit of a career and pay bump from barista to marketing manager.
Yeah, only slightly.
Slightly. 6-8 times like Tammy.
Would it be?
Wow, we pay well here.
3 times. 3 times for sure. 3 time up.
Hopefully, the knowledge that you gain
Way more valuable than just the paycheck, and then the resulting network, like knowing all of you guys, being able to interact with all of you on a day-to-day basis, and everything else, all of the surrounding networks.
Yeah, I noticed you and Tim were just talking Greek about these. I can't believe how many cryptocurrencies there are.
I think there's over 10,000 now.
Surprised you haven't made an iWIN coin yet.
Well, so I was thinking. Oh, never mind.
We could.
Whose dog should we use as the logo?
Maybe
For
Tim's.
It? Tim's dog.
Yeah.
All right, that's the start. All right, that'll be the next project.
So Joel, I think
Retriever
the
coin.
thing too that is commendable about what you're saying is that you took action and did, you did stuff that makes a huge difference as well.
Yeah, because it
Some
wasn't like we
people's-
hired you cold either. You did
Yeah.
steps that led you here. Like you took you're doing self-development,
Yeah.
learning copywriting, learning wholesaling, real estate investing. Thank you. But yeah, like you were building yourself up, and that's kind of what led you here. It's not like just opportunity just fell in your lap.
Right. No,
Like,
yeah.
you volunteered, which led to a job offer.
Yeah, that's a good point. In the middle of those 5 years, there were several years. Like, my life has kind of gone in like 2-year waves. It's really weird. I'll have a year of like where it just feels like my head's beating against a brick wall, and I'll try and look for opportunities and just be nothing, and then all of a sudden something will open up, and then and the next year it'll just be some pretty cool opportunities open up, and I can just get to do new things and stuff like that. And then the next year it's just, again, still doing the things that I know to do, knocking on doors, none of them really opening, and then all of a sudden something opens up. And that was actually kind of like 2020. The start of 2020 was this job. And that was after an entire 2019 of knocking on doors and trying to get something going and trying to get out of being a barista and nothing falling in my lap. And then, but just doing what I knew to do and being wherever I could, and being with whoever I could be with, that I, people I knew that were doing the things, they had the financial freedom, they had the knowledge that I was looking for. And then this was probably, working with you guys is probably the better of all the opportunities. Of all the doors I knocked on 2019, this was definitely the better of all those options. So
Thanks, Joel. Chris, what were you doing 5 years ago?
So I'm going to actually take you back to October of 2015, right before 2016, because I remember that vividly because I was working in a corporate job with
Making really good money.
I was making decent money. There was a big jump in my salary when I moved in 2017, but I mean, I was still making decent money in 2016. But I remember it vividly because I thought I'd been with the company for about a year, and I thought for sure in October that my time was up there because they went through a massive restructuring where we lost about 10% of our workforce. So I was one of the lucky ones that was able to stick around. But at that point in time, that for me was just the light bulb kind of went off, and I knew that I needed to be doing something different outside of my corporate job.
Diversify a bit?
Yeah. And I mean, I had already been investing in real estate. I'd been investing in real estate since 2012. So that was definitely one stream of income, but I was looking to do something outside of my corporate job. I knew that that's kind of where my path would eventually lead me. And then 2016 hit, and my wife got sick with Guillain-Barré syndrome, where she was basically hospitalized for 6 weeks, paralyzed pretty much from the neck down. So experiencing that was a little bit scary, given I had, a 2-year-old at home, and how old was Charlotte? Charlotte would have been just over 2. Hudson was under a year at that point. So I was trying to manage kids and visit her in the hospital on a daily basis. So there was a lot going on there. But one of the things when she was sitting...
It was scary too, because did you guys even know what it was?
No, we didn't.
But that 6 weeks time, you didn't know what it was.
No, I mean, they had an idea within 3 weeks after a bunch of tests, bunch of scans, all that kind of stuff. They had a feeling that that's what it was, but they never really fully pinpointed that that's what it was. So yeah, it was obviously scary. Like with 2 young kids, you have a lot of things that kind of flash through your mind, and you don't really know what's going to happen next. So I mean, luckily everything kind of resolved itself. She came back home. I remember it was 3 days before Christmas in 2015 that she went into the hospital. She didn't return home until the second week of February. And then I would say she wasn't back to normal until it had to be at least June or July of that year. But one of the things that I did while she was in the hospital, because I was looking for things to do because I didn't have enough going on, I went and I actually met with someone to look at potentially doing a flip in Oakville. So after she was, and so I kind of made the decision that we were going to do that. So in August of that year, we actually did a flip in Oakville from a real estate perspective, which we did quite well on.
Isn't that the one we did nothing?
Yeah, we bought it. It was on the market for 50 days or just over 50 days. We cut down some trees in front. We put in some flooring. We did some paint. We spent about $13,000 on it. We owned it for less than a month before it got relisted, and then it closed November 1st of that year. So we held it for another 6 weeks. Yeah, we made $50K in that short period of time. So we did okay on that one, for sure.
So
and then,
your intention going in was more significant work, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. But experiencing the flip and all the stuff that could go potentially wrong with a flip, and the risk potential given what might happen in the market, and we're kind of seeing that a bit now in the market.
And the market was flying, right?
And the market was, it was end of 2016. So 2017 was our peak that we saw the last time.
We
and
never
it was
used
right near the
rocket ship
end of
emojis back then.
That's true.
It was going to the moon
We
for
did.
sure.
Yeah, we've experienced real estate going to the moon many times, and we never used emojis.
Yeah, no, for sure.
We probably would have gotten more young clients. We got some more investors. Sorry, Chris.
That's okay. So then we did the flip in 2016, and then 2017 we bought 2 properties that year. We did duplex conversions on those. Those ones, I can tell you, Beacon, the one on Beacon, we bought that one at 440. I bought that one with James, actually, 440. That one now, we converted it to a legal duplex. So at that time, legal duplexes, the actual work to get it done was not as much as it is now, because
How much was
obviously
it?
cost. So it cost us, our original estimate was $70K. But there was a little bit of cost overrun, so we finished closer to probably $90K. So it's not too far off of what we're seeing right now, but
Right. What would
still
that be?
cheaper.
What would the number be today?
We're looking somewhere anywhere between 110 and 120,000.
You had to do upstairs on that one too, though. So that was probably closer to 130, 140 if you were to do
Yeah,
it today.
Tom.
Yeah,
Oh.
fair enough. Fair enough. That's true.
Let's
That's
cook
true.
these numbers.
But we didn't do much upstairs. I mean, we laid some floor down.
It's
We
the
did
work.
some
I agree.
countertops and stuff. We updated the kitchen. So yeah, I guess fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, you're probably closer to 130, 140 now.
Oh damn.
And then that house now is, I mean, legal duplexes now are selling anywhere between 840 and 880. So it's almost doubled value, at least based on purchase prices, doubled value in 5 years or 4 years, actually. It's kind of crazy. And then, yeah, in 2019, so this kind of takes me back to, sorry, I feel like I'm being very long-winded here, but it takes me back to 2015 or 2016 where the light bulb went off and I decided I needed to make a change. In 2019, I decided to get my real estate license.
But this is after you experimented and everything.
Yeah, that's true. I did do a little bit of Amazon stuff as well, which I
Yeah.
also started in 2019 as well.
Did you do any MLM yourself?
I didn't do any MLM myself.
Okay.
Jen's,
But the family does.
yeah, Jen's doing all the MLM stuff.
Yeah. How'd that work out?
It's going okay. It's going okay. There's definitely, I mean, stock hacking and real estate are, I'll always rank those probably 1 and 2. But I think there's a place for some of that other stuff as well.
Oh,
So,
multiple streams of income.
yeah, for sure.
No
for
one ever
sure.
lost with multiple streams of income.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, then in 20.
But sorry, my point is always like, what are the best ones? So
Yeah. So yeah, then in 2019 I got my real estate license, and about, I guess, almost a year ago now, it's getting close to a year, I left my full-time job to do my full-time corporate job to do real estate full-time. So that's where I am today.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. So I want to get into some client stories, either crazy stories and also share some successes as well. So Tim shared one already. I'm going to pick on James now. Can you think of some wild stories that clients experienced and also successes?
Sure. Are we naming names? Well,
If they care, then no. If they care,
Not sure. Well, just in case. So I mean, because I've been working with investors for, I guess, 7 years now. So I've probably got, I'm almost close to that point where almost over 100 individual investors that I've worked with.
that's a lot.
Lots of repeats already, but there's only a few that really stand out. And it's just over the past 5 years, especially.
Well, they probably all did well.
Yeah.
It's just.
They all did amazing. But there's a few, like I think about my story as well, where I started, and then once I realized I wanted to do real estate, I just kept at it. And so, I mean, I think 1 year I bought 5 properties, and until
Your first year with me.
I grew my portfolio really quickly over a short period of time. And I have a couple clients like that. One most notably, he started knowing nothing. He had just gotten laid off from his job and wanted to get into real estate. Well, it's Charles, right? Because he's probably shared the story
Charles
on the
won't care.
podcast before.
Charles.
And
Blah.
so, I mean, when I first met Charles, he the best part about Charles is he's just wants to learn everything about everything, especially when it comes to real estate. And so, first going out with me, he's an engineer by trade originally, so he's very detail oriented and a million questions. But then once he got it, he was all in. And so he went from knowing nothing about real estate and to coming to home inspections with his dad and learning from the home inspectors and figuring out, what to look for and what are warning signs and wanting to learn from the home inspectors. A lot of people will go to a home inspection and they just let the home inspector do their thing, where Charles was kind of one step behind. What's this, right? Like just an appetite for learning. And went from knowing nothing to, I think we did over 10 properties together. And then since then done, multiple private deals as well. Started off with rent to owns as his focus, and then branched out into a million different things. So duplexes and student rentals and now development and everything. But
infill developments.
Seeing him change from never having owned a property to where he is today it's just been a phenomenal journey. So to be able to be part of that as the coach on the sideline and being able to still be able to guide through the journey, it's been fantastic.
Right.
It's just kind of amazing being able to see the level of success a lot of our clients are able to reach.
Right. And Charles is our client, but he's also our close friend.
Yeah.
Like I was in his wedding party.
Yeah.
I didn't know him before he was our client. Right. We became friends, and that's kind of a commonality with our clients. I don't know if it's with how it is with other real estate businesses, but our clients are our friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just going to say, there's not a lot of, outside of the investment real estate business, there's not a lot of other realtors that see their clients 5, 6, 7, 10 times a year like we see our clients, right? You sell a family a house and you usually hear from them 5 to 10 years later if they want to sell. There's not a lot of that repeat interaction where we see our clients so much, and then we want to see them that much as well because we are friends and because they're interested in growing and learning just like we all are.
Yeah, they're fun to be around.
Yeah.
It's fun to be around because they're so successful too.
I love it. The stories are amazing.
The stories are amazing. And that was actually why we started the iWIN meetings as well. We needed a regular touch point, a regular place that we could all meet up and see our clients. Because we do have, like you said, 100 clients. You can't have lunch with each of them. Because even if you did one-on-one lunches, you would take a full year.
Yeah.
Right? Before then you wouldn't see them again for another year. So that's why, again, we had our networking meetings.
Yeah, I think the thing too with a lot of our investors is that the reason they become friends is because there's a lot of common interest there. So it's obviously easier to relate to someone who's very like-minded, as opposed to what James is talking about, where you have other realtors that are maybe selling a house to someone or buying a house with someone, and then you won't see them for 5 years down the road. There's not a lot of commonality there, whereas our clients definitely there's a lot of commonality, which makes it very easy to become friends with them.
Yeah, we're all, we do what we teach. Like we actually do it first. We all invest ourselves because we want something better, something bigger in life. We want to get ahead in life, and real estate was our chosen vehicle to do so. Right. So Tammy, I'm sure you've seen some growth as well. Mm-hmm. You've helped out Charles, and I'm sure you've helped out other people.
Yeah, actually, when you were talking about Charles, I was thinking about a picture that he had sent me for those infill developments that he did there in St. Catharines, and he's got not just a regular whiteboard. I think he's got basically it's almost like the screen size, it's massive whiteboard. It's the biggest, it's huge. And he had the whole neighborhood all laid out and all the details. Like he just puts everything into it, like you were saying. So yeah, I was thinking about that when you were talking about him. You know what my favorite story is? And we've kind of talked about it a little bit, is Joe Costanza. Joe Costanza. That's the best. So Joe started with us. I remember when very first time I met Joe, I was doing a presentation at that location where we had to be on a slant. I don't know where that was. I forget.
I remember.
Yeah.
I went by
some
golf
school,
club.
I guess it was. And
Sheridan in Mississauga. Yeah.
We had over 200 people about there, and I was doing a presentation, and I remember I presented, at the end, I had presented about a Best Buy, a property that I thought this was a great property. Nobody asked me about it. Nobody came up to me and asked me about it. And then Joe came up to me at the end of the meeting and said, "Hi, my name's Joe. I was hoping I could work with you. I'd like to work with you." I said, "Great." So we had a chat, and then we talked later. And right away I said, without wasting time, "This is a good property." I'm like, not that I'm trying to push you. And, I know we're just starting. Let's go out. Let's look at some stuff. But this is a really, really good property, and I know it. And it was. And he ended up. Where's it? Oh. And we ended up, we got that property. But the funny part, besides, the obvious with Joe, which I'll get to in a minute, besides him calling me mom, which is not acceptable, Joe, because I know you're listening. He even put it in his Instagram post the other day where he said, "Thanks, Mom." Because, yes, I'm much older than him. But the fact that he was 24 when he approached me at that meeting. And we bought that property in February. And I remember we were doing the deal when we were going to see Grant Cardone. And I was in the airport, and he was saying, well, maybe we can get lower. I go, Joe, no, listen, this is, I know for sure, this is what we have to do. And we picked it up, and we did all that. So it was a little bit hard because I wasn't right there with them, but we got through it. It was a fantastic property. He was 24. He turned 25 the fall in that March that next month. And now he's 27, and he has 5 properties.
He has 5 properties already?
He has 5 properties. Yeah. And he's learned so much. I mean, he was already a smart guy and hard worker. I think he had 3 jobs at the age of 24. Like he's, but
never owned a piece of real estate before he met us.
No. Yeah. And watching his growth is just been, I think he's an inspiration. I think he's an inspiration for a lot of people. And a lot of people like myself, who I start later in life, like at his mom's age, barely, then, good for us too. Good for us, and I'm happy, and I saw the success from you guys, and I wanted to get involved as well. But to be that age and know that you can push forward, and then he did exactly what we talked about, the burst strategy, and he pulled it out of that first property, and he went to the second, and he went to the third, and he actually just got amazing rents on his third property, top rents. So they're pumped about that.
Yeah, the one thing about Joe that I really love is he'll make things happen. Like he doesn't. He'll get over the excuses. Like he was 24 when he bought his first property, and he made it happen. I know I've spoken with several different people that are kind of in and around that age, and it's challenging for people at that age because they haven't established themselves, right? So it's very difficult for them to kind of get themselves going. But Joe just kind of pushed ahead, and like it's very commendable what he did.
His hustle is definitely admirable.
Makes no
for sure.
excuses.
Yeah, and he figures out a way to do it. Like he finds creative ways to get it done. So. I think he had help with his parents and stuff like that, but still, I mean, like he was able to.
He got that much help.
No, not the beginning.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
No. They house
awesome.
him. He lives in their home.
Right.
He still lives at home, which I think is brilliant. Like.
They are now, though.
They are now.
Yeah, they are now for sure.
Because they saw his success.
They saw, yeah. I think it had a little bit to do with his coach.
I agree.
Coach Tammy. Thank you.
Tammy.
Tim, does anyone come to mind? I can think of two people that come to mind. Your clients.
In terms of successes,
Like coming out of nowhere, like starting with nothing, and then they build something.
Yeah, I would say. I think we talked about this as when I did our other podcast. I think it was crazy stories, but we'll go with this route. Another crazy story we can talk about is Naked Tenant guy.
Oh.
Let's talk about Naked Tenant.
Yes.
Let's talk about Naked Tenant.
We'll talk about it after.
Easy, Chris.
The first one was
It's a good story.
just a young couple that came out to one of our investment tours. At that time, we were doing them in person, and they just kind of absorbed what we were talking about during the tours, the good areas, the bad areas, running the numbers. We sat down after, I believe it was at a coffee shop. I don't remember exactly where. It's been a while now since then. And their first thing that they wanted to jump into was a duplex conversion right off the bat. This would be essentially their first real investment. They had a pre-construction condo at that time as well, but their first true investment in terms of getting their hands dirty with renovations. So they jumped into it, and it was the first one was there was obviously some ups and downs with getting the conversions, the permits, and going through the whole process. But after that, they did another 4, I believe it was, conversions, and they actually have probably the record for the fastest duplex conversion that I've seen. So since on closing date to actual occupancy date was 2 months, exactly 2 months.
Wow.
So that's the fastest I've seen, and I know some investors sometimes take 6 months, sometimes take even longer than that. But they just dove into what we were kind of teaching during our classes as well as our iWIN monthly events, and taking all that information and just applying it, essentially. Just taking action is the main thing.
They used your contacts as well.
A lot of the contacts that I provided originally, and then they kind of built their own network after. They actually did their drawings after the first couple, and they didn't need the consultant anymore to do any of the drawings.
Right.
So they actually did themselves.
They're going full head in. Like
Yeah.
They wanted to create a new income for themselves.
Yeah, and from their past after the renovations, they've been doing the refinancings and buying more, and they're just going on to other things right now as well.
They started from zero. If it's the same couple, I'm pretty sure I know
Yeah.
who it is. But they started with zero, like no houses, no houses.
Just their
ownership,
primary, just their primary
which
home.
was a condo. So it's different.
Yeah.
In Toronto, so different market. Never bought a detached home before. Also, I'm pretty sure that house that they bought is probably 50 years older than the condo they live in. So it's very different.
Yeah.
And then how many properties did they acquire?
I believe it was 5 or 6, somewhere around there. Yeah.
Right. That's crazy. And they went from like 0 joint venture partners to having joint venture partners.
Yeah, the couple at the very end where obviously a lot of investors, they get capped out for capital and or
Yeah.
credit. So
Yeah.
then you bring on a joint venture partner.
Yeah. And if I recall correctly, the female of the partner actually became like the general contractor.
Yeah, she was hands on at least once or twice a week at all the projects. So she was doing it full time as an investment as an investor.
Were these two even 30 when we met them? 30 years old?
I don't know. I actually do not know.
I think it's around there.
Probably.
They look young.
I look young too, so.
I think it's one of the benefits of working here and working in real estate. You look young. Joel, you have some crazy real estate stories. Actually, one of the truths about real estate is, there's lots of programs taught out there. Like you took some of them and you paid significant amount of money for them.
Yeah.
Can you share some, like, what did a course cost and how much time and
Yeah, I took the bottom package and I split it with someone, and that was still $7,000. So
each?
each,
And then what did you spend in marketing costs? Like
another $2,000.
That's all it cost you for flyers?
No, I did
And bandit
signs. The flyers were $2,000. How much were the bandit signs now?
What training was it?
Legacy, so Rich Dad. Gosh, how much were the bandit signs? Were they $400? It's probably $2,500 for marketing.
And how much for your time?
Oh God, I don't know. That was every weekend, evenings. That was 2018. 2018 paid off. 2019 didn't. 2019, I actually worked with, like, I'd used up my savings and some line of credit, so I just didn't have any more marketing budget. I was still like driving for dollars, writing handwritten notes, but I just didn't have any more marketing money. And so someone else wanted to do it. And the truth is, we went 7 or 8 months, nothing. And we put more money into marketing. We were out every weekend. We were out, like, knocking on doors. We were out dropping off letters, stuff like that. And so, and made offers. And it just, again, that was the year of knock, 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 and just nothing. So, it doesn't always fly. The consistency is necessary, and sometimes you just get drained. And if you don't have the resources, you got to get creative after that. So, or you just slow down, which, it is what it is. The 2018 was cool because I found it was actually none of my marketing that worked. It was just me. Someone said, I was telling them what I was doing, starting to do, literally just starting to do, maybe a month or two out of, like, having taken this private course. Looking for vacant, abandoned, disheveled houses. They're like, there's one, like, right across the street from me. So we went and took a look at it.
Is this the Holton house?
Yeah, this is Holton. So this is actually a sweet story. How did I get his name? Her name, technically. Oh yeah, I went to town hall. Found out who the tax bill was being sent to. I just mailed them a letter. Got a call probably about 2 weeks later, and just negotiated the deal. Got it under contract. There was a lot of help, like, from random people, like I had been talking to on Facebook, and some, like, legacy contacts and stuff like that. So it's not like I did this all on my own, but and then also a lot of help from the person who ended up actually taking on. So it's a wholesale deal. So I got it under contract and then assigned it to someone else. So the investor I assigned it to, he also helped out. But and this was like 2.5 story century home, really nice neighborhood in Hamilton. It was like the worst house on the block, and had been that way for at least 6 years, probably a little bit more. And the owner at that time was a contractor who got stuck. He he was a commercial contractor. He was trying to do this as a personal project. Ran out of money, ran out of time, and just needed to get rid of it. And so yeah, I was able to offload it and get it to Tammy's client. Although he was talking about James, I remember this was before I really met you guys, and I remember I sat down for coffee with the investor, just to because this is the first time I'd ever done anything with real estate. Never seen a contract in my life, and like analyzing numbers, just wanted to make sure I got it right. And so he was kind of like, well, if you can get it at these numbers, like that'd be pretty sweet. And he's like, let me talk to my realtor. And it was James.
Well, we were all part of the same team.
Yeah, exactly. Work together on this kind of stuff. So I don't know if you want to take it from there, because he put a shite ton of money in to that place and still rocked it.
Yeah. I remember, we'll say who it is too, because it's Manny, and we've
Okay.
talked about it before, that property they had there. And I remember that.
I don't think Manny minds his attention.
No. And I remember he was talking with James about this property initially, and that's when Manny and I really just started working together. And I remember him saying, because we had now worked on other projects, and he said, I went to James at first. I said, no, go back to James. That's cool. Like we're all a team. It's all good, right? And then James said, Tammy's your girl, so go for it. So that's how it ended up back to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember I think he bought
This
it
is the
originally.
year that you guys broke up, right?
Yeah.
Giving her all of my hardest leads, just like I give Chris.
And I think you got it for
Fine.
$436.
Because that's
if
what
I
you got
remember.
from me.
Right. Yeah. So we got it for $436. I remember. I think he put in about $180,000 into it.
$180,000.
Yeah, he put a lot.
Did
Like
the
again-
contractor break it?
No, well, it was like he had gutted
It
it.
was mid-reno.
It was mid-reno, but I'm talking like he
Like
didn't.
nothing?
He had redone some of the electrical, which was probably a big expense anyway. But he'd already maxed out lines of credit and private loans for this. Like I don't know how much money he'd put
Right,
in this
right.
place already, but like
So truth about real estate is it doesn't always work out.
no, and especially for this guy, unfortunately. Now I think
Just to clarify that. We've never seen that situation with our clients.
yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so like there was no lights, like there was no kitchen. It was gutted.
There was no stairs to the basement,
There
I
were
remember.
yeah, the stairs to the basement were really bad. He had to they replaced those. He had taken different walls out and put other walls in. It used to be a duplex before that, and he had turned it back into a single family. But like that wasn't a complete task. There were no bathrooms, so that's why the $180 rental ticket.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And
no
it was
bank's
a-
touching it.
And it was a
No
massive
bank.
house.
Yeah, it
It
was.
was
And
like 2.5 story, five bedrooms.
And he did it up like to
Yeah.
the nines. He
Yeah.
wanted that
Cool.
Toronto buyer, basically, as we label that coming in, which is exactly what happened. Because I remember when you were originally running some comps with him, you thought 720 tops, probably around the 700 range or so, and he said, okay, that sounds good. But then the market started going up at that time. So by the time we went to run some comps again, he said, wow, if I can get 740, I'm pumped. And we ended up with 754, I believe exactly is what it ended up being at the end. So he was super happy about that. And the funny story about that is that we had a couple that were walking down the street and popped in, and they were the family of the original owners. And they came in and we showed them around. They were so happy to see all the work that was done, but it was also so just that feeling for them of being in their childhood home of this is where we used to have Christmas and this is where we used to do this, and being able to talk to someone who experienced the house before was nice.
Joel, were you at the tour? So I remember we toured that property after an iWIN meeting, right? Or
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
an iWIN meeting, we
Yeah, we
went to
brought
show
it.
the house.
It was
our
mid-renovation.
flip project,
Yeah, it was gutted pretty much still then.
It was
Well,
close to
no,
done. It was
no.
close to done. I
It
think
was,
just
yeah, it was close to done because I
Yeah.
remember being there for that.
We went back twice. We did it
We
twice.
did twice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there was one where it was pre-reno, for sure. There were still building materials all over the floors.
So,
Remember that one.
so a couple points I did want to make is like it doesn't always work out. You have to be smart about this. That's why we are pretty cautious with how our clients invest. Like, we don't have any client who's come anywhere close to that level of story in terms of the person that our client bought it from, right? Like like that contractor story. That's really unfortunate for them, but it worked out well.
The crazy part is I think he paid, like with what he was able to get for the property, he paid off most, if not all, of his debts.
Right.
So like getting stuck and getting close to, time pressure, tax pressure,
Yeah.
debts are being called, and then actually being able to clear all of that, like he got lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bank could have taken it back.
Yeah.
If he'd waited too much longer.
It's probably the market that saved him.
100%.
So he got lucky.
Yeah, it was 100% the market that saved him.
Right? Like we never say that we're like geniuses. Like the market helps us a whole lot. But I would say that we predict a lot of what happened with the market.
Well, you have systems in place that protect you. Like you, and I don't know this guy. He's as far as I understand, I don't know him very well. I haven't had any contact with him afterwards, so I don't profess to know this man. As far as I know, he was a commercial contractor, and he was super busy in that end of the business. And this project just ran away from him in terms of scope and in terms of time. The space ended up becoming storage rather than anything else. So it was, I think for him, it was more of an annoyance than a real problem. And he probably would have found another way to deal with it if it hadn't have been me, but it was me and Tammy and Manny. So
Interesting. Yeah, so I think one of the reasons why our clients can avoid these problems is because we can give our clients a pretty good ballpark what the renovation cost is going to be. Am I wrong?
No, I think if anything, we're sometimes a bit too cautious just to make sure that, I mean, I think there was one recently where I'm used to like a full renovation. So I had a partial renovation come up recently and I wasn't quite sure. And I quoted a number and then I ran it back by the team and some contractors and I was over by probably 20% on what it probably should cost. And that's really where it should be. Because if we're trying to sell a home that we're like underquoting what we think renos are, and then the investor goes and does it, and then they're over budget, and then they're not making the money that they think they're going to make. Number one, it's not ethical for us just because we're trying to sell the home. And number two, if the investor's not successful, then we're not successful in the future, right? So it's in everybody's best interest to make sure that we're underquoting and that people end up being very successful in what they're doing.
And not just dollars, but timelines.
Yeah.
Because we're dealing with it daily, but dealing with the city, so we know what the lead times are to get a permit done at the city, like not just Hamilton, but like St. Catharines, Kitchener, right? So we've talked a lot about rosy things. Hey, did we get the story about the? Okay, sorry. So, truth about real estate investing, it isn't all roses. Our clients have overcome some issues, have they not? Can you think of something? It should be that hard, folks.
well, even Joe had to. So I remember from Joe Costanza's story, like, I mean, it's not a massive issue, just to buy you guys some time to think of something, but like, I remember Joe talking about undershooting the reno costs.
I think he didn't budget for the driveway having to be redone.
Right. So he had to come up with more money somehow. Am I wrong on that?
I don't remember that quite like that.
Okay. Yeah. Is there a story there? I don't know.
Well, I do remember. I remember him thinking he got pre-approved for a certain amount and didn't, and then he was scrambling, and he was going to call his Nona, but they ended up working the whole thing out. But yeah, and I think that there's been a few people. I know Joe did take on a project himself, and there was definitely some bumps in the road and some learning lessons there for him with being able to manage the trades himself and get everyone in and lined up and their quality of work and all that kind of stuff. So
and manage his own work.
yeah, exactly. So I think that's, that was definitely there's some lessons there. I think that goes for probably many people, many of our investors.
I heard that James have the same story. Trying to learn on your own property how to do stuff, how to drywall.
I was reading,
how to plumb, a lot of electrical.
Home Depot books before
YouTube.
Before there were YouTube samples, I bought the books from Home Depot on how to do tile and how to lay flooring, and then I would test them out on my rental properties.
How'd that work out? Were you on time, on budget?
6 months longer than I
for flooring and tile.
Yeah, because I was working 2 jobs full time. But that was one job and a newborn when I was trying to do all that stuff.
Right. So don't hire James for rental work.
No. Well, and now I know how to do it. I can also tell when a contractor's work is up to par or not. So there's definitely some value there of me having done it. I'll never do it again. Yeah. But.
And there's always value to everything, almost everything, right? Like when Joel took his wholesaling courses, it didn't work out as a wholesaler, but it was a path to working here because that was valuable work experience for us, right? Successful, not successful, but like you showed that you hustle, right? What employer isn't looking for hustle, right? Now, I'll share a client story as well. I think the one that stands out a lot is Evelyn LaMarche. It was Evelyn DiFrancesco before. She was single when I met her. She's 26 years old. I don't know if everyone knows her story, but when I met her, she was still living at home. Uh, and she had money saved. So she never owned a home before. And then we went and bought a property. I think the first, I forget what the first property was. But anyways, the entire journey is like now 10 properties, right? From nothing, from living at her parents' house, to having just savings in her account, use those savings to buy as a down payment. Now she has 10 properties. It's been 11 years she's been my client. It's pretty crazy.
One of the cool stories, it's kind of interesting when you take all of our clients' success stories, they all have hustle in common, because she's a hustler. Like she works full time as well. She's got 2 kids, but even when they were in their active acquisition phase, like they were always out, and Mike was doing the work, but she still Mike, she still does all the management. She signs all the tenant leases. Like she's just all there for all the showings. Like nothing's outsourced, right? They're in it all the time, right?
Part of it's not outsourced because Mike can do it all.
Yeah.
He can do it all well, right? Like he's proven he's good on the tools. He was a auto mechanic by trade, so he's good on the tools. He's good at YouTubing, detail-oriented kind of guy. And then one of the properties that stands out for Evelyn is when she bought her own home. So I was still on the road back then. I forget the year. It's been a while. I won't name the street she lives on, but it was in Northwest Hamilton. So actually, I remember the first property is we bought a house on Burlington Street. So for anyone who knows, you guys are laughing, because for anyone who knows Burlington Street in Hamilton, that street shares the street address, the street name with DeFasco and Stelco. So it's a very famous name. When I remember people were asked, when I told people, like, this is one of my early transactions, like, oh, I did this deal on Burlington Street, right, with Evelyn. Like, you did what? you bought in like the slummiest area? And then the property turned out wonderful. I remember, because I was new, I didn't have full confidence in what like rents would be, for example. But then I advised Evelyn, she wasn't. So we had a property manager come, and he gave her a price on the house for what he thought she could rent it from. And I thought it was like $150, $200 light. On a $1,300 rent, that's really light, right? And I said, hey, try this. I know we don't own the house yet. Put it on Kijiji. Put a rental out on Kijiji, see what you get. And then she was flooded with 10 calls like immediately. Within the first day, she had 10 contacts, people that wanted to see the house. And then so the Friday of closing, we actually had access to the property and showed it. No, sorry. The same week we showed the property. 3 people wanted the house for asking at $1,300. The property manager said it's $1,150 best, right? I said $1,300. I delivered on $1,300. She got $1,300. And then on the day of closing, she went to the lawyers, got the keys. From there, she drove to the tenant's work, which was like just around the corner from that new house, handed them the keys, collected cash for because they operated in cash, these tenants. I think she collected like 6 months cash on the spot. So she just closed and she had 6 months of cash in her hands, right? And she went from zero real estate knowledge before this first deal. And then one of my favorite stories about Evelyn was when she has a lot of faith in me. So when it was her time to buy her own home, we went looking, and in the same area. We were looking in the same area because it was a really up and coming area. And we looked at a couple houses, and there were some like awful flips, right? The truth about real estate is some flippers have no idea what they're doing. So you need to have an eye for it, right? So I remember one property, the flipper put down carpet. So automatically, why would a flipper put down carpet? So then, feel for it. So I took my shoes off, so I'm feeling around the carpet, and I can feel the floor is just wonky, right? And then we're in the kitchen, and there's an open house. So the realtor was like selling the house to us, blah blah blah. It's great, blah blah blah. And I looked at the kitchen cabinets where the sink was, and it looked new. So I thought, I just grabbed the end of it and pulled. And it pulled right off the wall. And then Evelyn still wanted to offer on the house. I said, no, Evelyn, we can do better. Then we walked out. And then about 2 weeks later, there was a house that we had shown like 5 times. Evelyn hadn't seen it yet because she was on vacation at the time. So when she got back from vacation, I'd showed this. We'd already run a tour through it, once maybe twice, and I'd shown it at least 3 times to different clients. No one took it. I showed it to Evelyn. Evelyn, this would be perfect for you, right? Part of the problem was also that they were pretty sticky on price, like $240, $240 for a row house, Northwest Hamilton. No, I think it was less than that. I have to look it up. It was way less than that. And I said, Evelyn, this house would be perfect. It's less old, so you won't have all the other problems of these century homes, because it was like 1960, 1950 build. I think it was less than that. Then she bought it, right? And it's appreciated like 3 times. It's gone up 3 times since she bought it. And then the coolest part is, she met Mike. That's how she met Mike, her husband, because he lived just 2 doors over. So if not for being picky on the property, she never would have met her future husband and father of her 2 kids. So that's gotta be one of my favorite stories. And then also she's made boatloads of money. Well, just think, folks. Like, she hasn't. I think her last property she bought was maybe 3, because they spent all their capital, so that they've had 10 houses 3 years ago, right? The market's been on a pretty good run, so lives are changed, right? She didn't come from much in terms of like her family didn't have much wealth. From parents' house to 10 houses, unbelievable. And then that's one of the lessons that I've learned in this journey is, I've said it to many people before. I've said it to family members as well, like family who say like, I want to be successful, I want to be rich, blah blah blah. And I said, you know what it comes down to? Who wants it more? You hear the analogy in sports all the time. Like you mentioned that Joe, Charles, they hustle. Evelyn hustles, right? All of you all hustle, right? Joel was knocking on doors. Tim has like 5 streams of income, right? James is a bit of a workaholic. Tammy's even a worse workaholic. Chris has how many? 4 businesses, I think, right? So to me, it's highly predictable who's going to be successful on the other end. I'm sure you guys have seen the same thing in your clients.
For sure.
Yeah.
A lot of it is taking action, right? So
Yeah.
I think most investors that we work with, they trust the education that we give them, and they take action. There's a lot that we've seen that absorb it, but then they don't take action.
Yeah.
Yeah, a great story about that. I was pretending. I think it was before I met you, or at the rain event that I met you, and I was at a table with 8 other people, and I was talking to the girl beside me, and she's like, "Yeah, this is my 3rd event."
Annual event.
Annual event. So it was a weekend conference on educational learning. So this was the 3rd time there. And I went, because I was hoping to learn from, I was brand new. I think I'd owned 1 property at the time, and I was hoping to learn from expert investors at the table. And I was like, okay, great. She's been here 3 times. I said, how many properties do you own? She's like, I haven't bought any yet. So she's been attending. So you're going to run into those people all the time where all they want to do is learn, and then never take any action. And it's the action part that's the most important, right?
So 100%. She's probably spent, I forget how much those weekends are cost, but close to $2,000.
Yeah.
Even more importantly, she spent Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like, you did nothing with it?
Yeah.
Like, think of how defensive you guys are with your weekends, right? You wouldn't just give it up. Not only go pay for something to go to.
Yeah. Let alone, what are the opportunity? What does she leave on the table by not taking action for 3 years? Like, what is 3 years worth of property appreciation worth?
14 years ago.
Remember 5 years ago at the iWIN meetings? What was it called something else then? It's been named many things before. Mr. Hamilton or Circle Meeting,
Titan.
Halton REI. I don't know if we actually worked Titan into the meeting name. But yeah,
Titan. I forgot about Titan.
Yeah.
Team Titans go.
Yeah. But then now the iWIN meetings, iWIN team. But remember, I think it was around 5 years ago, we would tell people, just based on straight averages. I remember having a slide up. I think the prices in Hamilton were going up $2,500 to $3,500 a month.
Yeah.
And our point was, this is the price of inaction. So yeah, you feel like you're overpaying by like $500 today. The house is gonna be worth $2,500 more the next month, anyways. Right? So you're gonna get your money back. Actually, I remember one client who's actually selling one of his properties. Dino, let's give his first name. I remember one property that I was competing with James, I think. I forget who else.
anyways, I forget, but it was a bit of a bidding war. A couple other well-known agents were bidding on it as well. I think it was like at least 5 offers. James and I both had offers, and my client just went over the top. Paid $290 for an oversized bungalow on a Hamilton Mountain. Paid $290, right? So it was a bigger one, like 1,200 square foot, right? So we beat, we went over the top. And I tell you, if you're okay with this, he says, I'm okay to pay next year's price, right? Because I plan on holding this for a long time. $290, right? What's that worth today? For an oversized bungalow in Hamilton
At
Mountain.
least 700.
No, 7 and change. It depends on renovated, but
Yeah.
I've seen a size 8.
Yeah.
Right? Even if you did nothing,
Yeah.
what's an ugly 1,200 square foot bungalow go for in Hamilton Mountain?
7 for sure.
Yeah.
700, right? So more than double what he paid. And so assuming his down payment was 20% down, that'd be 60 grand. So we're talking about over 300 grand return. Again, 5 times return in about 7 years. A bit over 5 times returns over 7 years, around 7 years, something like that. So action taker,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, people get stuck on the short term. It's really, again, it goes back to long term taking action. Those are kind of the key things.
Yeah, I think there are more pieces as well, because what we often lose and what we're trying to communicate to people is they fall into our world. Like this gentleman was from Toronto, right? Who did he use? He used our same property manager we use the same general contractor that we use. You know, if he ever needs it, accountant, lawyer, all those things. They use all of our same contacts, the same ones that we personally use. Right. So it's really, this isn't rocket science.
Well, that's the whole value we bring to the table too, right? They're tried, tested, and true, right? We've used all of them ourselves, and our clients have as well. So it's not like they have to recreate the wheel and trying to figure out, I don't know how to be a real estate investor. You don't have to learn how to be a real estate. That's our job to teach you that, and we can set you up with a team to help people be successful. Right.
And that's all you had when you joined my team. Like, wait, I'm new at this. Like, no, you're not. You've worked with me on 5 transactions. You see how it's done.
Yeah.
These are the contacts. These are the numbers. It's all logical.
It is.
Do the deal. Yeah. And in hindsight, it's worked out extremely well.
Yeah.
All right, how are we doing for time? Tim, you've been quiet.
Huh? Let me see. What do you want me to talk about?
What's real estate meant to you? Because I remember you always had interest in real estate,
Yes.
long time ago.
But yeah, when I remember I was about 20 years old. My boyfriend at the time, his family's friend, had investment properties. And I kept thinking to myself, that's what I got to do. Investment properties. And then I didn't do it. I didn't do the Joe Costanza. I didn't do the, I didn't,
The Evelyn
and
or the Charles.
I didn't do the Evelyn. I didn't, and I
Or the Ann and
didn't,
Lex.
I didn't push myself enough to do it. I know I didn't have the means, but I also didn't push myself to figure it out. So, and it's unfortunate because everyone looks back and thinks, oh, what if I, had done things differently or started earlier and so on. But, so I didn't know that then. and it definitely took me a while, but there's just so much success from it. And I have to admit that I've been fortunate because I have a good friend to watch and to learn from. And
MBM.
Yeah, exactly. And I get to enjoy his pool and the money he's made. It's called BFF. What do you call it? I don't know. I'm just joking.
You're lucky.
It's called
None of us
mooching.
are.
Dibs. What's it called?
Mooching.
Okay, I'll go with that too.
That's right. You can bring the margaritas.
Pool
but,
hacking.
But yeah, I've been, and obviously learning from everybody, but, having that one person who I know I do completely trust. Like, a lot of times when you're going out and you're talking to people, you never know, are people just trying to make a sale or and I never, as a realtor, ever want anyone to think that of me either, but I have been very fortunate, even with the stock hacking, with my husband being able to do the stock hacking with James and so on. We've been fortunate to be able to lean on and watch your successes and know, yeah, this definitely is a real thing. And even though I should have done it 24 years ago, you can do the math. I didn't, but I'm so happy that I did now.
Well, and I think the important point is that you started, right? Like there's people
Yeah.
that will regret never starting, and then they still never start. But I don't think there's a time where it's ever too late.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Just start.
I remember being out at a networking meeting. It was a dinner, and I was sitting between two 60-year-olds. One was like 61, the other one was like 67. And I don't know how the topic came up. Biggest regret. I wish I started sooner. The guy on the left. The guy on my right said, the 67-year-old, I wish I started sooner. And then a funny thing happened. They both looked at me and pointed. I wish I started when I was your age. That was 10 years ago now. But that is possibly the number one regret.
Yeah.
I wish I started sooner.
For sure. Yeah.
I think I've even heard Joe or Charles or Ann and Lex say it like, you would have been like 16 then. And actually, I gave a presentation yesterday to grade 8s. And the question was, how should I invest the money I make from my summer part-time job? These are grade 8s. I don't even know if they can make money, whatever. I actually revised that and said, the money, whatever money you make, isn't that significant in my opinion. What you should be doing is investing in yourself. So even if that means volunteering for someone that you're going to learn, to me it's more important that you learn than you go make minimum wage, mowing lawns, flipping burgers. Just my opinion, right? Go volunteer somewhere where you're going to learn, right? So, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that.
That's
But
good
no,
though.
my point to them was that if I started at your age, kids, I'd be worth probably 4 or 5 times what I'm worth today. If I invested that much earlier. 4 or 5 times, right?
It's funny. I have a couple investors that I've worked with recently they started when I probably should have started. They're not as young as Joe, but they're in their late 20s kind of thing. I didn't start until I was almost mid-30s, probably close to that.
Which is pretty typical of our clientele.
Yeah, and I have the same regret. Like I wish I would have. One, I wish I would have bought early, and the second regret would have been I should have been more aggressive earlier on, because it's obviously a different market now and different stuff is going on. But I mean, I think that's probably one of the biggest regrets is not starting earlier, for sure. And to your point, your wealth creation would have been so much more. My wealth creation would have been so much more if I would have started even 2 or 3 years earlier.
You know how many
Kids are
times
going to be very well off, then it seems.
I was gonna say, you know how many times a great property came along and I went straight to a client with it, straight to a buyer. That's a good opportunity. It's a good opportunity. And then later, why didn't I buy it myself?
Yeah.
Damn it! So
You
I
should fire
have to
yourself.
remember. Yes, I have to remember me at some point there, and to get more.
Well, that question comes up a lot. I think you and I, Erwin, talked about that before, where one of the questions I get from a lot of brand new clients is like, how do I know that you're not keeping all the good deals for yourself? Number one, I'm like, how much money do you think that we have that we can afford that?
You're
Well,
MBM.
it tells
When
them
your
that
name is
you're-
MBM, it's...
All my money's in the houses. But even after that, like, how am I going to get credit for it? How am I going to get a loan from the bank? Whatever that is. But at the end of the day, the reality is that a lot of times we just get the leftovers, and the best properties do go to all of our clients. And that's shown by a lot of the wholesale deals that we've put out as our best buys, and we all send these properties to our clients. And like you said, Evelyn was the 5th or 6th person that you showed that property to. It happens time and time again with our clients where they pass up properties and we're like, oh, if you're not going to buy it, then I might as well buy it. Happened for you on yours, happened for me and Tammy on the other property that came across our plate.
My daughter's house.
Yeah.
No one wanted it.
Yeah, how many investors pass up on great properties and then we get to take the leftovers that turn into these amazing investments in the first place? So
But I guess, is there any bad real estate investment at the end of the day?
it's a very good point.
Well, like Roger's most recent flip, we brought it to our best flippers. None of them wanted it.
Yeah.
What did he make on that? 80 grand
Yeah, I think it's more, but yeah,
in like 4 months,
yeah.
right?
But a lot of the real estate investments, we are talking long-term, though, as well. That's
Yeah.
why we're
Yeah.
seeing the gains.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
Oh yeah, everyone who held, like people who've been holding the last 5 years are making close to 100 grand a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where else do you get that?
Yeah, but Chris, you made a really good point in that we've really done all of the due diligence. We're investing in all these markets that are solid fundamentals. The economics are there, the population is there, the jobs are there. So whether you buy property A on this street or property B on the one street over, that it might have a different color siding or the roof is 5 years older, doesn't matter at the end of the day, right? It's about getting up that property. If it's in Hamilton or if it's in Brantford or in Welland, wherever the city is, they're all been vetted, right? So, I mean, and people are successful in all of these communities. So it's just about, if there's an opportunity in front of you, take it.
One of my favorite stories, actually, I think it's James, one of your clients that bought years ago, was it 2014, 2015, bought a bunch of single family homes that were maybe cash flowing $60, and a lot of people pass up on those because they're like, it's not enough, and they want to do the duplex conversions and so on, and I get it. But he's had 4 of those properties turn over recently, and where he had maybe a couple $100 a month positive cash flow, is $3,000 a month now positive cash flow because long term.
Yeah.
So back to Tim's point. Yeah.
Because the rents have been going up so much.
Good point, because a lot of the marketing that these days on like courses and stuff is always about fast money. Like a lot of the wholesale stuff is about fast money, and we kind of shared it doesn't always work out. I would probably guess it doesn't work out for 90% of the people who take the courses, maybe even higher. Beyond 2 years. Beyond 2 years is probably a really small number. I've shared with I talked with my friends, for example, like remember when rent to own was humongous, and there were all these rent to own companies, like more than 5 years ago, and then where are they all now, right? There's very few of them still standing.
Yeah, that's because no one wants to give up all that additional equity that they're going to lose out
That's
on,
part of
on
it.
the rent-to-own deals.
That's part of it. Yeah, that's definitely part of it. But now the new flavor seems to be wholesaling. All these courses on wholesaling, because all the courses used to be on rent to own, right? And this is just history repeating itself likely. But yeah, so not everything works out. What has worked out well consistently for our clientele and our experience is just holding.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's another regret I have from a real estate perspective is the rent-to-own that I did. I'm not going to talk about the Stony Creek one that I didn't buy. I'm going to talk about the one that I did buy, that I successful rent-to-own.
Yeah.
We had a tenant buyer that bought it out a year later.
Yeah. What was your return? Do you remember your return? On that?
So I think I made on that one, I think it was $30,000 in a year.
Oh, boo.
On what was my investment at that point? I bought it at $280. My investment was around $50,000-$60,000.
What's the house worth?
The house now is worth over $600,000. So I mean, do I wish I would have held on to that property and not done it as a rent to own? For
See,
sure.
that's a
Yeah,
bad real estate
100%.
investment for you. See how bad that was?
Made $30,000.
Yeah.
Bad deal.
So you guys must have been reading different stuff than I was, because I was really bullish, right? So to exit a property at 3, 4, or 5% appreciation was like, no, I have no interest. Right? I was expecting like 7.
See, but for me, it was the fear. It was my first property.
Yeah.
James can probably attest to this. I was
I
probably
feel it.
calling him every weekend because we couldn't get it. It took like, I don't know what, 8 weeks to fill it, which is nothing.
For rent to own, yeah.
For rent to own, yeah. And but yeah, it was that fear of, I didn't know what was going to happen. I had a kid that was just born, so I didn't know what was going to be happening with that. But yeah, I mean, hindsight's 20/20, right?
Yeah.
You can't.
Look at you now.
Now
You went from all fearful to
I know.
like
I know.
you're able to tell people you're stupid not to buy this. You didn't say that to a client. You said it to me, which is like cool. We have that relationship.
Yeah.
I think another important point is there are no assumptions being made ever. Like we're not just assuming that the market's always going to go up.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all data driven.
We're looking.
Or our own experience driven. Right.
You're always looking at economic fundamentals. Like all the meetings, it's always being brought up, like immigration numbers or like what
Money
trends
supply.
are. And so, yeah, exactly. Supply and demand.
No, just the money amount of money printing going
right.
on. Yeah.
So it's not like there's just this baseless belief that real estate is going to keep going up. If ever there are signs of cooling off. So, one of the biggest conversations we've had a lot in the office or on Zoom calls, has been the mortgage, the new mortgage rules. Is that going, so we're trying to weigh out, like, what should we be telling investors? There is rumors of certain bylaws that could be passed in Hamilton. What should we be telling investors? How should we be guiding our investors that way? So it's not like we're never making decisions based on assumption. I mean, obviously there has to be a little bit of faith and in certain things continuing forward, but ultimately we're looking for as much data and making decisions based on that.
Right. And it's even history, right? Because like you guys who invest in crypto, because you know what happened in previous times of of monetary collapse. We don't want that to happen, right? No one wants that to happen. But if it does happen, or it continues to happen with like money printing, history has always shown like whoever holds hard assets will win. Not necessarily win, you'll be protected.
Survive, yeah.
Yeah.
If you have tenants paying that hard asset down in times that we're getting these potential dips, such as 2008, 2009, if you're holding through them, then you can offload them when it's a better time as well.
Or 2017.
Or 2017, yeah. It slowed down a little bit.
So what's the number on you make a 6% return alone every year just by mortgage pay down?
Roughly,
Alone.
after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's if the market doesn't go up at all, right?
Yep.
So if it's like 3-5%, even if you're using conservative assumptions like that, it's just more and more wealth that you're creating.
And you're also, we're all the properties that our clients are buying are cash flow.
Right.
Right. So, you add, even if it's only $100, $200 a month positive cash flow, you add that to mortgage pay down and now you're closer to 9 or 10%.
Right.
And so that's like potentially your worst case scenario. As long as you don't have to sell the property, it's going to cover itself and you just hold until you need you want to sell.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it's not liquid as some other investments are, but I mean, most people aren't buying or putting their money in real estate if they need that capital.
That's right.
Chris, when you brought up you were afraid because it was your first property, it was vacant. But then I remember back in 2017 when the market corrected, Hamilton specifically corrected, what, like 12, 16%? Was it that much? It was over 10%.
Yeah.
Right? If prices fell 10%. None of our clients panicked. Not one of them. I didn't get one phone call. It's as if they were prepared for this.
Well, and the other thing too is that it had been going up so much. I think we worked it out, like a 10% correction only reset like 3 to 4 months of gains. It was it was so inconsequential.
Yeah, it went from like, I think it started like the summer. No, sorry, March or May, one of the M months was when it was announced, the Fair Housing Plan, and then we corrected. But the correction sent us back to like December.
And within a year, it kind of just self-corrected.
Hamilton and probably like places like Kitchener-Waterloo, Barrie.
The ones that we're investing in.
I know some people that bought in Oakville that took much longer to recover. Right.
A lot of
the
homes
higher
we're
end
buying,
prices
so we're
took
buying
forever to recover.
typical starter homes.
Yeah.
Nothing too fancy.
Yeah.
We're not buying the 3-car garage ones for investment properties. So.
Right. That was by design, though. Right? We targeted certain styles of houses by design. Because I remember when I worked with my realtor, it was more about like they would ask me what I want. Right? If it because it's different when you're buying your home. It's really different. Like none of us live in a starter home, right? Well, none of us. It's different when you're deciding for your home. When you're buying for your investment, it's totally different. So, like, I remember when the last. I said this to a friend, a client that was a friend, right? He wasn't my friend when I started with. It was actually Ryan Heinmarsh, but he became my friend. I think I said to him, this is why I shouldn't be a realtor. I shouldn't be working with clients one-on-one. Because people ask, will you be my realtor? Like, no, this is why. Here's a reason why you shouldn't want me. I believe I said to him, at a certain point, I said to him, because like he was humming and hawing on a property, and I think I said to him, because we're friends, I said, do you really think you know what an investment property looks like better than I do? Because I just got frustrated at that point. He's like, I think it was Ryan. He's like, no, I don't. And then from then on, he stopped coming to properties, and he would just buy them sight unseen. Because to be serious, I've done 100 transactions just like this. I know what everyone else is renting for in this neighborhood. Did you really know this data better than I do? Is your decision making more data driven than mine? Right? Because you don't have the data I have available. Right? You don't have the experience, you don't have the context, you don't have the data, you don't have the resources. Right? So you can't tell me what a good investment property is. That person can. Because Ryan still doesn't see properties.
No,
he has properties he's never seen before.
Yeah. And it's so true because, I mean, I think of like Tammy, we were just talking about one of her, I think it was 2 years ago, she bought property on the same street on opposite side of the corners. So if somebody asks, how's this area, how's this neighborhood? She's like, yeah, my clients have two houses on this street, or like I can think of a number of examples where we're driving by in a neighborhood. How's this neighborhood? Oh, there's my house. Oh, there's my client's house. I was commenting, one of our clients, John, I own one corner. He owns the house across the street. I just helped another client buy the house on the other corner. So now we're just missing the fourth. For the fourth corner, we'll all own all four corners on that cross section.
And funny
And then
enough,
you work
that,
your way inwards.
and that corner house is actually also owned with you and Ryan.
Ryan, yeah.
And Ryan never saw it.
Yeah.
Going back to
It's
that.
a joint venture with Ryan on that one.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, we're starting to run it. Whoa, we're really running out of time. So I want to ask some like final thoughts. I don't want to give much prompting, but what are some final thoughts that you want to share with people that, especially newer folks, newer to investing? What are some final thoughts?
Trust us. No, seriously, because this is if I speak for myself, this is all I do, and same for you. Like, this is all I do, all the time. And so when we're going out and someone's new, and we're trying to be respectful to that, for sure. But for them to know that when we're out there and we're talking about the construction and the numbers and the rents and what we think it's going to go for and what they got to look for and everything that we put into it, it's because we literally put ourselves into this job and care. We care a lot, Something wasn't to go quite like I said. I don't sleep. That's who I am. That's how I am. But so we care a lot. So to trust us. And when I'm saying, and I'm going to speak for myself then, get out there and hustle, because going back to the conversations we had today, that's key. That really, really is. Our most successful investors that we have are the ones that did take action and hustled, because everyone that's just sitting and waiting, okay, fine, I don't want to be, disrespectful to them, so be it, but that's where they're going to stay.
Right. I'll just say, though, you can be an armchair investor. Like John Romanis and Ryan Harmarsh are really
for
good
sure.
examples.
Oh, yeah.
They just took action by signing the paperwork.
But that goes back to trust.
Yeah, exactly. They trusted you.
But they didn't have to hustle because they never even saw the property. They never met the tenant.
Yeah.
They just checked their bank statements. They got their mortgage, and otherwise they don't even know where the property is.
I think for me, the one thing I would say is there's always going to be an excuse, but there's never really a good time. So you just need to take action now. I know it sounds cliche, like take action now. It sounds cliche, but there's always going to be a reason why not. So you just gotta push past that and just take action and do it.
Because thank goodness that Jen made it, but we have clients where their partners didn't make it. Right? I remember a client. We bought 2 houses with them. It was actually part of their legacy planning, knowing that the husband and father would not make it. So they went out and bought 2 houses immediately. They're doing wonderful. And then when he passed, I said to myself, the first thing I said to myself, I said, thank God they have real estate. Right? They have assets that made them money, and thankfully they didn't have to sell them. They still hang on to them. So it's been like 7 years, and they've probably made $400,000 or $500,000 at least minimum in equity gains and the cash flow because they're student rentals. But yeah, you never know. Stuff happens because unfortunately we have a lot of clients that didn't take action until something did happen. Right? I have a client who didn't do anything until his father passed. Right? Then he said to himself, I'm done waiting. Right? I've been waiting for something. I didn't want to have to wait for that, but I'm done waiting. Right?
I think I've said on my podcast, I mentioned it, but it's something I tell my clients all the
You have your
time.
own podcast? Amazing.
On your interview with me, is there's opportunities in front of you all the time, and it's similar to Chris. Is take the action. Like when an opportunity presents itself, don't overthink it. I mean, just do it. It's like the Nike cliche, but like I've seen so many people overanalyze and hum and haw over stuff, and like I said before, like as long as you've got the fundamentals down for a specific city, if something meets that criteria and there's an opportunity, just take it. Because I think that's how I've been successful with my real estate, is that when I see an opportunity, whether it's a home that's I can jump on fast, like Tammy found that one property for me, and then we went in within hours of it being on the market, tied it up. Like if I hummed and hawed and ran the numbers or whatever else, I probably wouldn't have got it. There's many different occurrences like that for me specifically, and for other clients, like where they've just taken action immediately, jumped on opportunities, So be quick and jump on those opportunities.
What about the last house you bought and you didn't even have the down payment ready for it? You didn't have the money. Is that kind of
Exactly. You figure it
MDM.
out.
He'll figure it out.
You had to dig under the pool.
He
You had to
has,
dig under
he
the
has
pool.
the money. The vault is sitting at
No,
home.
it's okay. It's a long story, but no, I didn't.
Dig up his bitcoins.
The beauty of private lending.
For me, it's for a lot of especially the new investors as well. It's not finding a good deal; it's finding the right deal for you, because everybody likes to chase the shiny object, whether it be a BRRRR strategy, duplex conversion. Oh, this one I can flip, this one, whatnot. It's about if that strategy makes sense for you, your family, your life stage, the numbers, then it's going to be a good deal. If we're buying, as James said, in good neighborhoods, the fundamentals are good, that's going to be a good deal, because what I like might not be something is what you like. I've owned stuff from condos to 6-unit buildings, so, and I like condos right now. I don't like 6-unit buildings, so it's just preference and life stage as well.
In your long-term holding, and I think we can all say almost all of our wealth is built through on long-term holding.
Long term, yeah.
Right. Like I know Chris mentioned he did a flip. Like James, you've done a BRRRR, but more than 80% of all of our investing, our own personal investing, is just buy and hold. Yeah, we renovate. Yeah, we refinance, but that's not usually immediate.
You know,
Right?
sometimes it's quicker than others. Even if you're just buying and holding, you just hit the right time in the market
Yeah.
and you can refinance. Sometimes you're forcing that appreciation by doing your renovations.
Well, it's been like a 30, 40-year bull run, so I don't know how much to... It wasn't... Like I said, this isn't rocket science. It's just getting in the way of a back to basics business, supply and demand. Right? We can't make more land. We can't make more land. And there's always more demand. And we see it in the numbers. Rents are going up, prices are going up. Well, maybe there's demand. I don't know. It's just a business. You buy a house, it's a small business, right?
I'll piggyback off of what Tim was saying. What's a good deal for you? That self-awareness is huge. I think, from my perspective,
I know this is a real estate show because Joel, your primary interest now is cryptocurrency.
stock options and crypto, because it's accessible for where I'm at. I mean, I'm still. I was actually talking to Tim about some condo stuff the other day, more personally, just because it's more accessible. But
And you're by far the youngest person here.
yeah. So
Young enough to be no.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know about that. I'm not that young.
Young enough to be the Chris's kid.
I don't know about that.
How old am I?
I don't know. So, from my
I think
perspective,
James is actually older than me.
James is older than me.
Tim's the oldest. He just looks the youngest. That's
No,
probably it.
I'm the
No.
oldest. I'm the oldest.
youngest.
Sorry, Joel.
Off
I'll
track.
let you-
Sorry,
let you
Joel.
finish.
no, it's funny. If you have equity built up in a primary residence in your home, and you're even thinking about, hey, maybe, like the numbers align, or like it seems like we can do something with this, the answer is just take action. If, like, just do it. Figure out a way to do it. If you don't, you don't, maybe you don't own, maybe you're renting, maybe you're just starting out, maybe you just got out of college, maybe life hit you a couple times, I don't know, whatever the situation is, then I think, like, there's always something to do, and in that case it's add value. And self-awareness is a big piece of that. Understanding where you can add value, because if I went out and tried to help renovators, I would not have been adding value. That is not my thing. But I knew marketing, so I sent out letters. I did the signs. Like, it was a new form of marketing for me, but it was still a language I understood. And then when I was volunteering with you, like some writing that I was doing for you guys, some of the Facebook stuff, like it was in a vein that I already understood, and it was something it was a gap I could fill for you. So, if you have the down payment, or if you have equity built up and you're even just starting to ask the question, I think the answer is definitely just take action. But if you don't, if there is a bit of a gap there, then figure out how you can add value and go search for ways to do that.
Right. Because if you didn't do those things, it wouldn't have led to the new
Exactly.
opportunity that, what did you say, 3 times?
3 times.
3 times your income?
Yeah. And I wouldn't, like, I am investing now. Like, it's not massive, but my money is making money for me. I'm much further ahead than I thought I would be.
Captain?
I already gave
Yeah,
mine.
thank
Oh, you
you.
already gave
Yeah.
yours?
Start
Okay.
first.
All right. Let's go for lunch. Thank you guys so much for doing this with me, episode 200. Because the thought behind doing episode 200 was it should be something celebrated, and I wanted to celebrate with the team that got us here. Of course, Cherry's busy, but otherwise she'd be here as well.
It's a big milestone. So,
Yeah.
I mean, congratulations from us to you as well.
Congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
It's awesome.
200, woo!
So who's buying lunch?
Erwin.
Yep.
James.
Lunch specials for everybody. Thank you all.